So the deadline for round 2 admissions for ISB has passed, and soon the interviews will get started. Hence, I wanted to make this video to share my interview experience of the round 1 process that happened last month, so that I could tell you things that I did to finally get an admit. So first about the interview. So my interview was scheduled on 17th of November, and the notification for same I received on 11th of November. So I had good 5 to 6 days in between to do the final phase of my preparation. Once we get the email for our interview, we need to go and accept that within 24 hours of receiving that email. So please be active and keep looking for the emails that you receive if you are expecting a call. Third thing, my preference location for interview was at ISB Hyderabad campus, but because of some reasons it was rescheduled to a online Zoom interview. So yes, my interview happened online over Zoom. So next, let's talk about the interview day itself and how the overall timeline of the day looked like. So my interview was scheduled from 10:30 a.m. and I had to join the Zoom link 40 minutes before the interview started. After we joined the Zoom invitation link, we were taken to a lobby where the admission team did some identity verification. We had to show a physical ID card in front of the camera, and post that there were 2 sections to the interview. I think one is a new one, a 2 questions essay, a total of 20 minutes, and then the final interview. So let's talk about them in detail. So the first part of the interview is a 2 essay questions that we need to answer. We need to type basically. So few things about this particular test. So there are 2 situational based questions. The questions that I receive, whatever I can remember, I'll put it on the description box, so please check it out. Second, it's a proctor test and your camera and microphone would be active the entire time. It's a total of 20-minute test, but there's no time limit in each of the question. You can take distribute time as much as you want in both the questions. Also, there is no word limit in each of the essays. So before the interview itself, you need to practice these so that you know how much word limit you have to use, so that you have ample enough time for both of these essays. So how I prepared for these essay was, I searched in Google situational based questions asked in interviews. I got a list of them in the first page itself. From there, I took one question and pasted it in Chat GPT, prompting that I need to answer this question in 10 minutes. Can you give me a structure and also a sample answer? Once I got that, I took that structure, and on the same structure, I practiced multiple questions. So during the exam, any type of question, I knew in what way I have to answer it, and I knew that in what word limit I have to answer, so that it does not take me more than 10 minutes. So in that way, I was able to structure that answer properly with a proper introduction and solution and the conclusion as well. So I hope this helps. So my interview started at around 10:40 a.m. When I got a notification to join a separate breakout room. Once I joined that breakout room, there were 2 interview panelists. They introduced themselves. Both were ISB alums. One was from the batch of 2012 and the other was from the batch of 2021. So my interview went for approx 45 minutes, and I was asked approx 13 to 14 questions. And if I have to segment these questions, the things that they wanted to test about me, I can categorize them into 4 particular categories. First was, why is it that I wanted to do an MBA? And this is the most important one. The most number of questions was related to this. Second was what is it that I add to the ISB community? What is the value that I bring in? Right. This was the second. Third, they wanted to know a lot more about my work experience. So that was also approx 20 to 25% of my interview. And fourth was my leadership quality. So that would be approx 10 to 20% of my interview, where they wanted to know what kind of leader I am and questions based on it. So the list of all the questions that were asked to me, most that I can remember, I have added it in the description list. So please check it out there. If I talk about my strategy on how I prepared for the interview, I started with doing my research. I looked into a lot of YouTube videos where people had shared their interview experiences. I looked into a lot of things that people had posted on GMAT Club, and I also talked to few people who had already given the interview. So started with this. After I completed my research, I summarized it by writing all the type of possible questions that could be asked in the interview that were relevant to me. And once I prepared all these answers, I discussed them with my friends to make sure that there are no very visible flaws in them. And finally, a couple of days before my interview, I gave a mock exam with an ISB alum itself, which was also a game-changing thing that I did. And I think overall a mixture of all of this prepared me well for the exam day. Whatever my interview went, 60 to 70% of it was already predictable. It was based on something that I already prepared. The remaining 20 to 30% is based on the confidence that we have during the exam day. We're able to answer them, or sometimes we are not even able to do that as well. So we should be very confident about that okay, we do not know this. So yeah, this is how I prepared myself for the interview. The thing that we almost know what are we going to be asked upon. We know that we are going to, we have to answer the reasons for doing an MBA. We know that we have to explain our work experience. We know that they are going to ask about the quality of things that we have done in life, extracurricular activities, right? So, and that is what makes it a very difficult thing to crack, because since the questions are so generic and the questions are same to everyone, so your answer should be very unique to yourself, and you can't just escape it by giving superficial answers, is what I understood. During the interview, anything that I said, anything that came out of my mouth, there was a counter question, as in why, from the interviewers, right? So I think that is a very important thing to crack. And if I put it in a nutshell, if you have your narrative for doing an MBA, so if you think that if you tell it to a 10-year-old kid and that kid is also able to understand it and it's so simple and crystal clear, then only you are prepared for the interview. If there is a slightest of gap in the narrative that you put forward, the interviewer will be spot on catching that gap and grill you on that. So be very careful on what you are preparing. Do not just prepare your interviews as a question or answers. Prepare it as a narrative and have reasons for anything that you say. And that is how I'll conclude, and I hope it helps you, and all the best. I'll also link my LinkedIn profile in the description box, so that if you have any particular questions related to you can ask me, you can directly reach out to me there. So hope it helps. Thank you.